Catch it in committee.
Oh, Brian.
Senate will please come to order. Today we'll begin with a moment of silence to gather our thoughts for the big day. Thank you. Are there any announcements, Senator from Chittenden Southeast?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs be relieved of S-182, an act relating to contractor liability related to subcontractor work, and that the bill be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Now, the Senator from Chittenden Southeast has moved that the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs be relieved of S-182, an act relating to contractor liability related to subcontractor work, and that the bill be referred to the Committee on Finance. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have relieved the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs of S-182 and referred the bill to the Committee on Finance. We now have a joint Senate resolution to be read and adopted. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the two houses meet in joint assembly on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to receive the budget message of the governor.
Now, you've heard the reading of the resolution. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the resolution? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have adopted JRS 34. We now have JRS 35 to be introduced.
JRS 35, joint resolution urging Congress to support statehood and all accompanying legal rights and privileges for the District of Columbia.
Now, you've heard the initial reading of the resolution. It will be referred to the Committee on Government Operations. We now have some Senate bills for introduction, first being S-210, introduced by Senator Hardy and others. Please listen to the reading of the title of the bill.
S-210, an act relating to motor vehicle and pedestrian safety.
Now, you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Transportation. You now have S-211 to be introduced by Senator Lyons and others. Please listen to the reading of the bill by title.
S-211, an act relating to healthcare reform and to the regulatory duties of the Green Mountain Care Board.
Now, you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. We now have for introduction S-212, introduced by Senator Clarkson and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
S-212, an act relating to the open carry of firearms at polling places, political debates, and public demonstrations.
Now, you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary. We now have for introduction S-213, introduced by Senator Bray and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
S-213, an act relating to the regulation of wetlands, river corridor development, and dam safety.
Now, you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Natural Resources and Energy. We now have up for introduction S-214, introduced by Senator Hardy and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
S-214, an act relating to emergency orders against stalking or sexual assault.
Now, you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary. We now have for introduction S-215, introduced by Senator Hardy and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
S-215, an act relating to 3 Squares, Vermont.
Now, you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. That brings us to the orders of the day. We have up for consideration Senate Resolution 14. Senate Resolution 14 was introduced yesterday and put on the calendar for action today. The question is, hold on one moment. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the resolution? Are you ready for the question? Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. So senators will find on their desks not only the Senate disclosure form, the new one, but a copy of their disclosure form submitted to the Secretary of State. That was a helpful suggestion on the part of the Senate Secretary to allow you to refresh your memory of what you've disclosed as a candidate. And the idea would be to either transfer that information to your Senate form or update it if necessary. I asked in our Democratic caucus yesterday if folks could have these completed and turned into the Secretary of State by tomorrow. I would appreciate that from everybody. I do think these are important. I think they put information out there. That information will be online. That's a change we made last session to the good. And what I would say is getting that information filed on time shows that we're doing our part, and I would appreciate that greatly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Question is, shall the Senate adopt SR 14? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and the Senate has adopted Senate Resolution 14. That completes the orders of the day. Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pending announcements, I would move that the Senate stand in adjournment until 11:30 Friday, January 5th, 2024. And if I might start the announcements.
You may.
Thank you. So senators may have heard already that the House did override the governor's veto of the bottle bill. They did that just earlier today. And I think that there are some questions out there about when our vote will be. So I wanted to inform you of that. So we will receive that probably on Wednesday. My intention is on Wednesday, when we have that on the action calendar, to suspend action on it to a date certain of January 22nd. That will be 2 weeks from this coming Tuesday. Here is my thinking on that. This was a very particular sort of holdover from last year. It went through slowly enough, and we did not suspend rules. And so it literally traveled very, very slowly through the off session and wound up on the House calendar today. In that time, what tends to happen is people's recollections become a little hazy about what's in the bill. Some people wind up with a little bit of misinformation. Some people forget correct information. So it seemed best to reschedule a couple of weeks into the future to allow, for instance, the Democratic and Progressive Caucus will on Tuesday have discussion of the bottle bill. We'll look at what's in it. We'll have a presentation from the floor reporter. I would encourage my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to also caucus and get refamiliarized with the bill. It will give us 2 weeks to have our constituents weigh in on the issue. And then hopefully on January 22nd, we will have 30 senators present and voting. So there is no motion offered by me on this today, but on Wednesday, I will make that formal motion. But I wanted to let everybody know for scheduling purposes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are there other announcements? By way of announcements, I'd just like to remind the senators that we will, after we adjourn, please plan to reassemble at 1:55 so that we can be prepared to proceed to the House for the joint assembly. Are there any further announcements? Senator from Bennington.
Thank you, sir. Senate Education will meet after the governor's address, about 3 o'clock.
Are there any further announcements? Senator from Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wonder if it would be possible to ask a question of the Senate Pro Tem based on his announcement a few moments ago.
The senator is interrogated if he wishes.
Would the senator consider, rather than simply a caucus of the Democratic and Progressive members regarding information about the bottle bill, to have a conference of the whole in which there could be presentations on both sides of the issue in order to refresh the memories of the members of the body?
I appreciate the suggestion and the spirit in which it's offered. I guess I would say, I think at this point, given that we're under a gubernatorial veto from a Republican governor. Probably good idea to caucus separately. But when we come together for the override, there is the opportunity for discussion and argument and the normal process by which we decide what we're going to do. So I would say there will be an opportunity for anyone of any party to make their voice heard. I just think at this point in the process, probably a caucus of the whole isn't what I would think of as the preferred form.
I understand the comments of the President Pro Tem. I would be concerned, of course, that in the floor discussion, we solely hear from the members rather than from independent experts or people who may be concerned, which we might be able to do in a caucus of a whole. We certainly, in terms of in the event that we do have to have a separate caucus of Republicans only, we will invite all of you to attend that in order to hear perhaps a presentation that we hope will be balanced. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, the senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate now stand adjournment until 11:30 a.m. Friday, January 5th. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and the Senate will stand adjournment until 11:30 Friday, January 5th.